Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting Stump The MacWhisperer live broadcast. My name's Frank. I'm your host today, and we're thrilled to have you join us. Today, we're going to be diving deeper into some new features of the iOS 18 Notes application with the one and only Dylan Stewart, aka the MacWhisperer. Why don't we bring Dylan right in now? There he is.
Hey everybody, how you doing today?
Great to see you, Dylan. Dylan's going to be walking us through the amazing productivity features in Notes, showing how this essential app has leveled up the iOS 18 experience. And as always, this is your chance to stump them with the toughest Apple questions you can come up with. Take a moment and put your name in the chat. Let's make sure that's all functioning. Tell us where you're from. That'll be a good way to practice getting your questions together. Also, I don't know what platform you found us on today, but hit any forward to your friends, follow the MacWhisperer. All the support is much appreciated. And before we get started, don't forget to grab your free Notes cheat sheet. That's something we always like to do, right, Dylan? Give a little giveaway.
Absolutely.
For people to enjoy as our free gift. This Notes application is going to walk you through all the latest and greatest of what's going on. These are incredibly user intuitive and make learning a lot of fun. So just hit that QR code, scan it. There's also a URL if you'd like to use that as well. It's packed again with organizing tips and tricks and capturing ideas effortlessly. So, Dylan, we're going to be covering a lot of key updates like audio notes, how to clean up your handwritten notes, Apple Intelligence, I think we're going to be touching on today, right? Some new search capabilities. Terrific. So why don't we just jump right into it? The world of iOS 18 Notes. Tell us what's new and how we can make the most out of it.
Well, the first thing I like to bring everybody into is when I do work with clients, especially new clients, I'm always looking at how they're using their computers, how they're using their systems. And I find that a lot of people are swimming in documents. They've got stuff in Microsoft Word and in Pages and on Google Sheets and Google Docs, and they're on different websites and it's all over their desktop, and they can never find what they're looking for because the assumption is everything needs to be a word process or document that you need to save somewhere. And nobody has really great systems on where to save things, and as a result, it's just clutter and it's chaos. So the first thing I do when I'm with a new client is I will look at their Notes app, and 9 out of 10 times there's like 3 things in it, maybe 5 things. And I say to them, well, do you use Notes? I go, I'm not on my computer. I didn't even know it was here. Why should I use it? I occasionally jot down someone's phone number on my phone with it, but that's really all I use it for. To which I let them know that of all the productivity tips they're going to hear from me, and there's a lot of them, using Notes and learning how to find the information you need quickly, have it ready and accessible is a key. And there's no way to easily do that with Microsoft Word. There's no way to organize Google Documents and Google Drive. I mean, it's possible, but it's not really made to be simple and easy and accessible. As a result, all that important stuff that you're capturing in those documents is just thrown to the wind. Sure, you can search for it, but we all know how frustrating it can be to search for that one document out of 10,000 documents floating around your computer that may or may not be the right one. So I tell people to go to Notes. And the reason I like Notes, and there's a number of basic functions that we'll talk about as we get into the actual lesson today, but the reason that I like Notes, it's a really simple app. It syncs across all of your Apple devices. It gives you organizational tools like folders and tags and other ways that you can just find those documents. So when I'm working with a client and they're like, you know, I've got to wait for them to send me the Zoom link for this board meeting that I'm on every month, I say to them, well, is it the same Zoom link? They're like, yeah, so we'll put it in Notes. What? Why would I put it in Notes? Because I can open Notes in a second, and I can open it from any device, and I can have that link and all my other links right there. Or maybe you're going on a vacation, and I just had this client that said, I need to build an itinerary for this, European 2-week-long vacation. What app should I use? Notes.
Notes.
Really? Notes? Why would I use Notes? That's such a simple way to do it. Right. It's a simple way to do it. You can have all the things you need, all the links to the hotels. You can put map images into there. You can put anything you need into that document. You can share it with whoever's on the trip with you. As long as they've got Apple products, they're going to see that note. They're going to be able to work with it and edit it. And when you get off the plane in Italy or wherever, you're not going to need an internet connection because the note's going to be right there with all the information you need and giving you that amazing itinerary. So why use notes? Well, it looks the same on all of your devices. If you open up Microsoft Word documents on your computer and send them one way or the other to your phone, you'll find that it's really frustrating. You're having to pinch and spread and you can't really see it and you're like trying to scroll around on it. Google Docs is terrible on a mobile device. But Notes looks like it was made for your phone or for your iPad or for your computer. So why use Notes? Because it's a simple place to store and organize all the little pieces of your life and access them from any device without any headache. And it automatically synchronizes, and why not use Notes? Why not keep it simple? So that's kind of the basis of where we're going today, and Frank will kind of hand it back to you for a moment.
Yeah, I just wanted to say you really opened my eyes to Notes. My wife and I use it religiously now. It's an incredible application. Yeah, a bunch of people are walking in, so why don't we make sure that they're aware of the cheat sheet giveaway. It's the ultimate guide to getting the most out of your Notes app. It's a great productivity tool. Just scan that QR code on your screen, download it right now. It's packed with all sorts of tips for the Notes application, collaborating with others, and capturing ideas efficiently, effortlessly. So as we continue to dive into today's content, might as well talk about this as well. We want to let you know that if you find value in our ad-free broadcasts, and you want to support Dylan and the team here at the Mac Whisperer, there's an easy way to do so. We're not sure what platform you came in today, but if you go to YouTube and there's the super thanks, leave a tip. Your support helps us continue to provide high quality ad-free content and ensures that we keep bringing you these tips and tricks, tutorials, live broadcasts that enhance your Apple experience. So every little bit helps, and we really appreciate that.
So I want to take a moment while we've got this screen up. And
yeah.
One of the questions I get through YouTube and through a lot of people that are watching these broadcasts or getting this information is, well, how else can I get information from you, Dylan? What are the other ways that we can work together or that you can support me and help me out? The first thing you should know is that my YouTube channel is the prime way to get basic information, to get good tips, to understand how to use these Apple products, and really to be in relationship with me. But there's other ways in addition to that. I do one-on-one work, both in person, if you're in LA. I'm not flying to Norway for you, but if you're in LA, I do in person and I do remote work where I can walk you through any of these things one-on-one, answer the questions directly, and help you really make the most of this stuff. In addition to that, I teach a class twice a month. I call it the Mac Whisperer membership. And in the Mac Whisperer membership, we're always talking about new technology, new tips, new ways that you can take advantage and be more productive and organized with your Apple products. We teach 2 classes on different topics every month. This upcoming month, we're talking about local storage. So if you don't know where to put your files, you don't know how to organize things, you don't really understand how to find what you're looking for quickly on your computer or on your phone, this month's topics are really going to help you out. And if you go to this link and this QR code, you get more information about the membership. And you can always reach out to me directly at dylan@themacwhisperer.com, and we can set up a one-on-one, or I can tell you more of the ways we can work together.
I really enjoyed last week's update on the iOS 18 and the iPad. Incredible, the difference between iPhone and the iPad. I never knew. I always thought it was just a bigger screen.
No, it's got so many additional tools, and if you have an iPad and you haven't really embraced the Apple Pencil, you're missing out on what makes the iPad better than the other devices. There is no other device that Apple makes that you can just write things down, write in your own handwriting. It can clean up your handwriting, and you can really make art or whatever you want. And for all those people like me that complain about fat fingers and fat thumbs, the Apple Pencil and the iPad solves that problem hands down. And you can use the pencil on almost every iPad, even the iPad mini. So if you've got an iPad and you're not using the pencil, this is another one of the places where working with me as the Mac Whisperer, I can give you tips and tools that are going to take that device and elevate it to more than just a big iPhone.
I didn't mean to get you off on a tangent. There's always so much to cover. All right, you ready to get into it?
I'm ready. Let's pull up the share screen and let's start talking about notes.
Excellent.
So before I get started, there's two important things I want to talk about. My phone is currently on the iOS 18.1 beta update. This update is not available fully to the public yet. It will be in later October, and it comes with the first pieces of Apple Intelligence. Apple Intelligence is Apple's version of AI, artificial intelligence, but done in an Apple way. And Apple will be dripping out Apple Intelligence features through the entire year of 2025, and I've just seen kind of the schedule of which features are going to get released when, and there's some great ones coming. But the ones you'll see on my iPhone, and I'll call it out when we get there, you won't have right away. Some of these tools are going to come a little bit later for you in October. So if it doesn't look like my phone, that may be why. Second thing, we're going to be breaking down what we talk about today into two separate sections. First, I'm just going to give people some of the basic notes functionality that they may not know exists, a couple of the tools and features that I think everyone should know about. And then we're going to dive into a handful of the new features for iOS 18. Most of these, with the exception of the Apple Intelligence, and I'll call it out when I get there, are available to you right now. If you haven't upgraded to iOS 18 yet, it was released last Monday. It is available on all phones later than the iPhone XS. So the XS all the way through can get iOS 18, and there are a ton of new tools. I've got a video up on my YouTube channel that highlights a lot of those new features. We're just going to stay focused on the new features for notes today. Sound good? Ready for us, Frank? All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to click on Notes up at the top here, and I'm going to get me into my folder view. We're going to just create a fresh new note using the New button in the bottom right corner here. And I'm going to talk about what I think is the most underutilized functionality of notes, and that's dictation. If you're not using dictation on your phone, if you think Siri is dictation, you're missing out on a huge productivity tool. In the bottom right corner of all current iPhones, it may be to the right of the space bar on an iPhone that still has a home button, you're going to see this little microphone icon. And you may have seen it, or you may have even clicked it by accident, but by turning this on, you enable full dictation and transcription of everything you say. So let's see what it looks like. Dylan and Frank, new paragraph. In today's lesson, we're going to talk all about the iPhone and Notes and iOS 18 and all sorts of amazing things that you can do with each of these separate tools. ... Smiley face emoji. So just like that, you'll notice that it captured all of the information that I said without my really touching the keyboard except to turn it on. Using dictation is such an underutilized tool. And yes, we can just use basic dictation, but you'll notice a couple of things that I said there, such as new paragraph, which gave us 2 lines after Dylan and Frank, or smiley face emoji, which literally put in the smiley face emoji. In order to use the formatting for an emoji, you need to know the name of it, and you can do that by going into your emoji keyboard and pressing and holding on any one of those emojis, and it'll tell you what it's called so that you can come in easily and say crown emoji, heart emoji, shrugging guy emoji. Oh, well, it misheard me there. It heard shrugging eye emoji. It's not perfect, but it's still better than typing, and most of us are not perfect with our typing either. So using dictation, learning how to use it, learning how to use the formatting tools like new line, new paragraph, punctuation, etc., can really, really highlight your ability to capture a note quickly and easily. Next thing I want to talk about, also underutilized, is something called quick notes. So for quick notes, I'm just going to open up a random web page. Now let's say that I wanted to capture information about this web page. I don't want to, create a reminder for it. I don't really want to take a screenshot. I just want to remember to come back here later. I can pull down, Am I going to have it on here? I don't think I have it on here. Cool. You get to learn something else for a second. I'm going to open up my control panel by pulling down from the upper right corner here. And the control panel is completely renewed in iOS 18, giving you the ability to completely add all sorts of additional functionality through all of the different pages that you've got. I'm going to come right into this bottom page here. I'm going to add a new function. I'm going to click Add Control, and I'm going to go ahead and click where it says Quick Note in the right side here. This allows me to utilize Quick Note, which I should have set up before I got on this call. But, you know, hey, what's an extra couple of seconds in an extra lesson? When you click on the Quick Note in Control Panel, it opens up a new note directly onto your phone with this little button at the top that says Add Link. Because I was on this web page, it knows that, and by clicking Add Link, it's going to go ahead and add a link to that exact web page, and I can come in and dictate. This is a really cool website I learned about today with some fun shirts. Let's check it out at a later point. And then I can click Save in the upper right-hand corner, and that note is captured. And you can use Quick Notes in most apps, allowing you to tag all of these important pieces without leaving the site you're on in order to go into Notes. So that's another thing a lot of people don't use and don't know about. We'll come back into Notes here. One of the other things that is a basic function that people just aren't using yet are tags. When you're working with notes, especially if you're like me and you've got thousands of them and they're scattered all over the place, it can be really hard to find the notes that have something in common. Sure, I can put them all in a folder, but sometimes there's a particular kind of note that might be in multiple folders. For example, I might plan meetings like this Stump the MacWhisperer, and I might want to easily find them. So by adding a hashtags, which shows down at the bottom of your notes folders window, you can immediately jump into any one of those specific tags. But how do you create a hashtag? It's pretty easy to do. We're going to come right back into the note that we were just working on, which should be right there, our Dylan and Frank note. And right down at the bottom, I'm going to just come in and add myself a hashtag. And you'll notice right above my keyboard, it gives me suggestions of some common hashtags that I use. And if I continue to type it in, it's going to suggest other ones. In this case, I might want to be doing a class notes. And as I start to type it up, if it doesn't show up, you can just keep typing. Don't use any spaces. If you use a space in a tag, it's going to complete the tag. So I'm going to just say this is class notes, and I'm going to hit return. Notice that when I did that, that hashtag turned yellow, meaning that it's live. And now if I come back into this folder list and scroll all the way down to in this list here and go to the bottom, we're going to find that we now have a class notes hashtag. And clicking on that will find any notes with that tag in them. With everything that I teach about organization, one of the key components is don't overuse any one tool. Don't create 10,000 tags. It's going to make it impossible to find the ones you want. But if you can prioritize it by selecting tags that tie together notes that might be in multiple folders, and I'll give you another example of that, you'll notice here that I have a folder of recipes with all these subfolders of burgers and chicken and fish, but sometimes I just need to find all the recipes. And so I have given myself a hashtag recipe. When I click that, all of the notes anywhere in any folder with recipe tagged on them show up right here, making it really, really easy for me to find what I'm looking for. And the other thing that I want to talk about just really, really briefly with regards to common tools here, let's go back into our note, is the ability to take and add any link that you want into a note. Now, we talked about it through Quick Note, but I'm going to do it a little bit of a different way here because sometimes I want it to go to an existing note. So I'm going to start off by going into Safari, and we might as well stick with this same website. At the bottom middle, you'll notice the Share button. When I click on that, I'm going to get a bunch of options, including notes. And I can click that note there, and it's going to allow me to save it to a new note or any existing note. So as I come here, there's our Dylan and Frank note, and I click Save right on there. And now inside of Notes, I've got that link directly there to get right into that web page. And if I click on that note, it goes right back to that web page. So you can use a note to really organize a lot of separate links, a lot of websites. There have been times where someone's talking to their wife about, here's 5 or 6 different hotels we might want to go to in Italy, or here's a bunch of new restaurants to try. Rather than texting them 46 different links, collect them onto one note and share the note with them. They can then add additional links, click on any of the links, put notes in about which ones they like, and simplify everything. All of those features that we just talked about have been around for at least a year, or in some cases 10 years, depending on what tip we're going to talk about there. But utilizing those does not require iOS 18 or anything else. They've been around, and there's some of the basic functions that I think everyone should be exploring. There's one more that I'm going to talk about before we close this out, and this is the most used tip on notes prior to everything we're going to talk about in a moment, and that is the ability to take any note you've got, click the 3 dots in the top, and lock it. I talk a lot about passwords when I'm working with clients, and I explain to them that having passwords written down on a piece of paper or in a Microsoft Word document is just completely ineffective when you're not home, which is usually when we run into password problems. Instead, if you put passwords into a note, you can easily have track of all of your passwords wherever you are. And then people will say to me, but what if somebody gets a hold of my phone? Then they have all my passwords. Well, your phone should be locked by a passcode anyways and by Face ID. But let's say that we wanted that additional security. Clicking those 3 dots and clicking lock right there. Oh, this has a tag in it, so it doesn't want to do that. We'll take out the tag for that example. Clicking the 3 dots on it, going ahead and clicking the lock button will immediately bring up your password selection where you can use your Face ID or a password you've selected, pop it in there and lock this note so that nobody can get in without that passcode. And that's one of the big ones that I use. Frank, thoughts on any of the things we just talked about?
Oh, it's great. I always learn something new. I always think I'm not going to, but it's amazing that I learn something new every time. I want to get into reminders. Maybe we can do that next week as to the comparison, because things are coming up. But I don't want to get you off track.
No worries. We're going to just keep moving here. We got another piece we're going to talk about. These are iOS 18 specific functions. And again, I'm going to end with Apple Intelligence, but until I get there, everything else is on your phone right now if you're on iOS 18. So we're going to start with new formatting options. And I'm just going to come into, well, I'm going to this one. Yeah, it's a bad one. Let's see. I'm going to my trip to Paris note here. Now, if you want to highlight something or format it so it pops out, there's a new formatting tool that exists. Simply selecting whatever you want and clicking on the big and little A on your toolbar here will open up your formatting tools where you can bold and italicize and underline and blah, blah, blah. All that stuff's been there forever. But you'll notice on the right this little pen and the color. This can allow you to highlight any text to make it pop out even more so that that text literally jumps off the page with this new color, and that's new to iOS 18. It's not the biggest change in the world, but it's something I've been asked about again and again and again. On the computer, you can make things have different colors. On the phone, up until now, you couldn't, and having that highlight function where it's not just written in another font or another color, but it's popping out and it's hard to overlook it, I think is a great addition to notes for iOS 18. But let's talk about one of the more interesting and more important pieces of iOS 18. And for this, I'm going to go back into, well, we'll go into my Japanese adventure note. This is a itinerary that I built using ChatGPT. I shot a YouTube video about it. Not a real Japanese trip that I'm taking, but it looks awesome. And I'm super excited about exploring some of these tools in maybe Japan. What I want to do here is I want to add an audio note. Now, an audio note is different from dictation. Let's say as I'm planning this trip, I just have to talk out some ideas. I don't really want them all written up just yet. I just want to get my ideas on the page. I don't want to type them. By clicking on the paperclip that you see in the middle here, you'll see a bunch of options. Amongst those options, you can attach a file or add a photo or take a photo or scan a document. But right up at the top, it says record audio. And when you click that open, it opens up voice memos, but within that note. By pressing on the red button down at the bottom, you can start to record it. I'm really excited for this trip to Japan. There's all sorts of things that I want to do while I'm there. I'd love to find a really cool sushi restaurant, maybe some unknown one that's like in some downstairs subway in the middle of nowhere that everyone's excited about and nobody knows anything about. One of the things I've always been curious about Japan is, what does the living arrangements look like? We've always heard about these tiny little bedrooms that look like a hamster house. I'm really interested to see some of those. Now, while I'm recording this, I'm going to click on the quote in the bubble in the lower left-hand corner, and what you're going to see is that it's actually transcribing everything that I'm saying as I'm saying it. So not only do I have an audio recording, but I've also got the words from that audio recording directly inside of this note. When you're done, you can press the little pause icon in the middle. If you decide you have something more to say, click resume. You can pick up right from where you left off in case you were, oh, I have another idea or something else I want to do. When you're done, click the done button in the lower right-hand corner and it will attach that entire audio recording directly into your note. Which is great because at any time I want to, I can click play and it will just play that out for me so that I can hear it, or so that anyone else who I've shared this note with can hear my thoughts on our trip or what I want to do. In addition to that, if I tap on that audio recording, it brings me back to the screen with all of the information so that I can listen to it, or by clicking in the three dots in the upper right-hand corner, I can give it a different name. I can add the transcript directly to notes. I can copy the transcript. I can save the recording into files, or I can send it out to somebody. Maybe I've got someone coming on that trip that doesn't have Apple products. That's lame, but it happens. I could click share audio and send them an email of what I said in this note so that they could listen to it on their Android device. But the one I really like is the ability to simply click add transcript to note, and it takes whatever I said and drops it. Where did it put it? Did it put it at the bottom? There it is, and drops it directly into the note, meaning it's like dictation. But the problem with dictation is sometimes it'll drop things out, and sometimes they need to go back to the recording because dictation isn't perfect and it might have misheard something. By having the recording, by having the transcript, you've got all of this capability right in your phone, right on the palm of your hands. You can do it on the computer as well, but we're not talking about the computer today. All right, next thing I want to talk about is a feature where you can add a link to an existing note into this note. You'll notice here where it says resources, I've created separate notes for hotels, restaurants, and Japanese phrases. They're not a part of this note. I didn't want it to overwhelm this note because there's all these Japanese phrases and I don't want this note to be 40 pages long. It's an itinerary. But by linking to an existing note, from here I can click on Japanese phrases. Oh, that's fun. Okay, well, I'd have to have them still available. Let's make one. So I'm going to come over here into just the open space, and the trick to creating a link is using the greater than symbol. So I'm going to use the greater than symbol twice, and when I do that, it automatically opens up all of my other notes, including the Dylan and Frank note. By clicking on it here, it just immediately adds a link to that or any other note that you want, meaning that you can tie in any specific note right into the note you're working on without cluttering it up. And then a simple click on Dylan and Frank and it will jump me right over to our Dylan and Frank note easily. This makes it simple to have like a table of contents pointing to specific notes without that note getting overwhelming. Keep in mind, if you are sharing one of these notes with these links, you need to share these supporting links as well, or you'll have what just happened to me happen where they click on it and it says, I don't have this note. So that's one of the tips on there. And I'm going to talk about one other thing before we jump into artificial intelligence, and that is the ability to collapse headers. Now, so I want to be clear. I pay attention to all of the updates that happen for Apple. I'm always watching, I'm always checking their keynotes and downloading betas and playing around with stuff. And 9 out of 10 times I'll hear something and I'll go, that's dumb. Who's ever going to use, that's the dumbest thing ever. And then most of the time, I stumble into why they did it later and I go, oh, that's actually really, really smart. So we're going to use a basic example here. I think I have it on Well, we're going to use our Stump the MacWhisperer agenda here just as a basic example. Here we've got all these separate sections that we've created on the separate pieces of what we're doing. Wouldn't it be great if I could collapse them so that I didn't have to look at everything and I could just see the highlights or the pieces I need? It's very, very easy to do because what you do is you come in and you select any piece of text. You click on the formatting A's on the left side here and you change it to a title. Once you change something into a title, it will allow you to collapse that title. You see the little arrow on the left side here, and when I click that, it'll let me click it, it will collapse everything underneath that. So if you do it properly, which it's fighting me on because, of course, come on, get me in there. It's fighting me on it because I'm live, that's all. Come on, get me out of there. Well. Trust me, when you collapse it in, it hides all the stuff underneath it, but clicking on it again, normally, would open it up and allow you back in so that you can explore this long note without having everything in front of you all the time. So those are some of the basic iOS 18 features that exist. Things like the ability to add the formatting tools and the highlighting, the ability to add the audio recordings, the ability to link notes, and the ability to collapse the headings. But I also want to make sure we cover artificial intelligence. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. iOS 18.1 is where we will begin to see Apple Intelligence show up. It contains all sorts of features and functions. It is not out until October. So it is coming, but you can't download it today. But I want to show you some of the ideas of what's on there and how that can really work. So I'm going to just take a basic note here, and I'm going to highlight a chunk of it. And then you'll notice on my toolbar this funny little like sun icon that's on the far right side over there. You'll also notice the sun icon above the keyboard. Pressing on either of those will open up the ability to get writing tools. And writing tools can do basic proofreading. So if you've written some text and you're not sure if it's properly spelled or there's proper punctuation, clicking proofread will take care of all of that super easily. You've also got the ability to rewrite it, and not just rewrite it, but you can rewrite it in different tones, friendly, professional, or concise. You can also create a summary or key points or a list. Now this isn't a great note for any of those, so let's go into a better one here. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab part of a book that I was writing, and we're just going to take this first chunk here, right to there, good amount of text there. I'm going to go ahead and click on my Apple Intelligence writing tools, and I am going to come down and I'm going to say, summarize this. And it's going to immediately pull together a one paragraph idea of everything that I copied. And I can take that and I can replace the existing text, or I can copy it and paste it elsewhere in the document. Let's go ahead and click back and let's do something different with that. Let's say that I wanted to make it friendlier. Simply clicking on the friendly will immediately take that text, drop it in, which it's trying to do right now, and allow you to rephrase all of that information. There it goes. Took a moment. Like I said, it was a big chunk of text there. Okay, and then you can read the separate information. If you like it, you can keep it. If you don't like it, you can go back to the original and immediately change the tone of everything you're doing. You can even do that with professional. I had an example where I was telling someone that their dog had died. I'm just not, telling people that their dogs have died, but it was an example that I was using. And when I did that example, it made it professional. Dear friend, I'm so sorry to tell you that your pet canine has passed away. Versus friendly, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear about this. If there's anything that I can do. Being able to use these separate tools is a game changer. And as we get further and further into Apple Intelligence, it's just one piece of what's going to come together and make it easier for you to use notes and capture all sorts of ideas and proofread them, consolidate them, summarize them, or completely change the tone on anything that you're doing without any major hassle. And I think it's a great way to do it. I'm going to take one more time here. We're going to take this one. This is just a basic paragraph talking about one of my upcoming classes. I missed it. Try it again. Move too quickly for me. Come on, get over there. Okay, and I'm going to come click on my Apple Intelligence, and we're going to make that professional. The shorter it is, the faster it's going to do it. You can see this week's introductory session provides participants with I don't say the word participants. I would never say that word, but it is very professional. If I revert it and come back into friendly, welcome to this week. In this session, we're going to dive into the iPhone interface. That sounds more like me, right, Frank? It's a little bit closer to how I generally talk. It's so easy for you to be able to make these changes, and Notes is a great place to do it for all the reasons I talked about at the top of this class, all the simple ways you can organize all of your things in one place. It gives you the ability to write letters out, to capture any ideas, to take a whole complicated concept of a class or an article you want to write and immediately consolidate it, make it concise, summarize it, or change the tone. And those are some of the best features out today or out in October for iOS 18 and Notes. Back to you, Frank.
I'm so excited for Apple Intelligence. I can't wait. Great stuff. I'm just thinking about my brother and I are always trading guitar licks and guitar song ideas, and I never even thought about putting them in Notes, and because we share notes all the time. So you gave us something else to work with. So thanks.
I'm going to throw you a bonus for that. There's something that nobody has mentioned. What's funny is, again, I track all of the changes, and then sometimes there's just some under the radar piece, and nobody talks about it, and then I stumble into it and I go, why is nobody talking about that?
Yeah.
Voice Memos has been a great app for years. It's a great app. It's a simple way to capture things. A lot of musicians use it to capture ideas for a song or licks on a guitar or anything like that. You can share it. You can't live collaborate on it, but you can share it. But here's the really cool thing. In iOS 18, Voice Memos has dual tracks, which means that you can record a guitar lick and then come back and lay lyrics over it.
All right, we're going to talk about that later.
All right. Let's go on back over to our sheet.
Yeah, let's give the opportunity for people to download that QR code, because there's a bunch of new people in here. So here's a QR code that you can scan, and that'll bring you to downloading the productivity notes lessons and cheat sheet, where you get all these neat tips and tricks, more things than we just went over. It's packed with all sorts of organizing ideas, collaborating, and just capturing ideas effortlessly, a little bit of what we touched upon. So that's our gift to you. Please take advantage of that. Also, we were talking a little bit earlier about if you're finding that value in these ad-free broadcasts and you want to support Dylan and the team here at MacWhisperer, there's an easy way to do that, and that's just to go to YouTube. Scan that QR code. That'll take you to YouTube, and you can utilize Super Thanks. It's just an icon there that I have in a red rectangle that you can hit, and you can leave a tip. Supports, it supports us in continuing to provide high quality, ad-free content, and ensures we can keep bringing you these tips, tricks, and tutorials, and enhance your Apple experience.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got any good questions on there, Frank? Are we ready for some Q&A?
People are actually putting in some Stump, which is great. I got this one person. It's like, so Dylan, how do you hide and lock applications? Do you know how to do that?
Of course, I know how to do that. So we'll talk about that for a second. I was on YouTube, and I had done this video about some of the new iOS 18 features, and I showed off this particular feature, and somebody popped into the comment section, and he was like, yeah, well, you could have done that on Android from the beginning. And I'm like, well, maybe Android users have more to hide.
Dun-dun-dun.
Dun-dun-dun. Here's how you do it. First off, there's two pieces to this. There's hiding and there's locking apps. Now, sometimes you've got an app that you either don't want people to accidentally click on because they could mess stuff up, or you just straight up don't want them to know you've got. You don't want them to know you're playing games when you're at work or whatever that happens to be. I'm going to use this app that we see, the green app on the second row there. It's called Hit 'em Up. You may notice that the apps on my phone are very large. It's part of the iOS 18 function of being able to edit and customize your apps. I've made mine large because I don't need to see the titles. I know what the titles are. That's what it would look like otherwise. We're going to be looking at that green speakerphone there.
Maybe
I'm going
I
to
should
press and hold on that.
Maybe I should be bringing up the phone.
Oh, technical.
Let me help you out. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we'll go back for a second. So you may notice that the apps that I have on my screen are large and don't show titles. It's easy to make that change by going into edit mode. You do that by pressing and holding on the screen, clicking the edit button in the upper left-hand corner, and going to customize. I like them large. I don't need the titles. This is what they would look like otherwise, but I'm going to leave them large. We're going to be talking about the green megaphone app on the second row here. It's called Hit 'em Up. And if I didn't want someone to accidentally access it, I don't need to lock it. I just want to hide it. I can press and hold on it, and there's this new function that says Require Face ID. Require Face ID, when you click it, will give you these two options. You can either require Face ID, which means that app is locked. Nobody but you can open it up, but they will still see it. Or you can click where it says Hide and Require Face ID. We're going to do that one. When I click Hide and Require Face ID, it's going to scan my face, confirm that I know what I'm doing, which I do, and oh, where'd it go? It's gone. Here's where it went. In your app library down at the very, very bottom, there's a new section called Hidden. Nobody but you can see the hidden apps. Nobody but you can click on them. With your Face ID or your iPhone passcode, you can simply tap on that section. It will scan your face, show you any apps that are there, and allow you to just get right into them easily and simply. And so that's how you hide and or lock a note. Simply pressing and holding on it. That was a mistake. Simply pressing and holding on it and choosing where it says Require Face ID and then selecting Hide or Lock. Not stumped. Next.
That's great. Here's a question on productivity having to do with Excel documents. People got more than one question around being able to copy and paste from, let's say, an Excel document and putting it into notes. They're finding it clunky and working with the different the grids.
So
is there a way? I'm sorry. Is there a way to copy and paste into notes and work on it?
Well, so the short answer is yes. The problem when you're dealing with a spreadsheet is that it's got these separate columns and these separate grids that are part of that spreadsheet. When you copy a spreadsheet and paste it directly into notes, it tends to try and keep that grid. And it uses a function that we didn't talk about in notes, which is this column section that you see down on our toolbar here. And these columns are fine. They're just not great when you're dealing with big spreadsheets and big pieces of information. In most cases, if you copy from Excel into here, it's going to work, but it's not going to be perfect. So the question you have to ask is, does it need to be in that grid form? Is that helpful for you? If it is helpful for you, you probably shouldn't use notes for that particular document. You should probably use Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, or Apple's Numbers, all of which will work directly on your phone and allow you to have a better experience with a spreadsheet. However, if it's not necessary that it stays inside that grid, you have an option when you copy and paste to match the style of the note that you're in, and that will take it out of the Excel format and into just text. It's a little hard for me to do because I don't have an Excel spreadsheet to grab from, and in my opinion it's way easier on the computer, but all you have to do is select that entire document and then go over to the note, but before clicking paste, go into the edit menu and you'll see something that says paste and match style, and that is the key to changing the way it looks on Excel and dropping it into a note. But again, it's going to lose that grid quality. If that grid quality is essential and it's bigger than a couple of columns and rows, leave it in notes. Leave it in Excel, leave it in Google Spreadsheet, leave it in Numbers, and you can create a link to that document in a note so you have reference to it directly from notes if you want to. And then you click on that link and it would jump you over to that other app.
Nice.
I'll say one thing about that. I think that spreadsheets are an amazing and powerful tool, and most people don't use them right. They're using Excel as a default when really it's not for any of the purposes that a spreadsheet gives you. in my opinion, the purposes of a spreadsheet are sortability. You can sort by any one of the columns. So if you've got like first name, last name, street address, you can sort by any of those. The other big function of spreadsheets is calculation. So if you're building an invoice or you're trying to keep track of all these expenses, that's great. And there's nothing that's going to do that degree of calculation like a spreadsheet. But if those aren't the functions and you're just using it like a big document, don't use Excel, don't use a spreadsheet, use Notes or Microsoft Word or Pages instead, because that spreadsheet capability eliminates options and makes it hard to really capture that in an easy way.
Excellent. Someone's saying that they're not convinced to upgrade to the iPhone 16. Why should they not upgrade to an iPhone 16 Pro?
It's a great question. It's a great question. And let's just break it down like this. First off, Apple Intelligence, which until it shows up is just going to be a lot of marketing mumbo jumbo. It's going to change everything. It's going to be amazing. Until you see it, you're not going to really understand how powerful it is. And by the time that happens, it's going to be too late if you don't have a phone that is capable of it. Apple Intelligence is only available for the 15 Pro and later, which means that if you have any phone before the 15 Pro, you're not going to get Apple Intelligence. It's just not going to happen. And people will say to me, well, why don't I just get the 15 Pro? Well, Apple's doing a little nasty trick. They're going to stop selling the 15 Pro. The reason being because they know that when Apple Intelligence fully launches, we're not talking about today or tomorrow, we're talking about halfway through 2025, that the 15 Pro is not going to be as good as the 16 and the 16 Pro. The reason is hardware based. The AI is going to take 4 gigabytes of RAM minimum, and if I remember correctly, everything before the 15 Pro is 6 gigabytes and the Pro and later is 8 gigabytes. But on top of that, there is a processor inside of the chip. It's called the neural engine. And it was designed for the 15 Pro before AI was a thing, before everyone knew this was going to happen. And so once Apple Intelligence was developed, they realized the neural engine in the 15 Pro wasn't big enough. So they quadrupled the size of it for the 16 and the 16 Pro so that you can have on-device functionality and everything doesn't need to be done through the internet. Do you have to upgrade? No. But I'm telling you that when Apple Intelligence starts moving and you realize you don't have any of those capabilities, you can't do the cleanup in photos, you can't do summarization, you can't do any of the image generation that's going to be coming, you're going to feel left out. Right now, if you want to upgrade, the 15 Pro is a good deal. But I know that it's not going to be able to keep pace a year from now, and so does Apple. That's why they're pulling it off the shelves. But you can get it now for a discount. It's just know that that's going to tap out. The biggest difference between the 15 and the 16 is the camera. And the 16 and the 16 Pro have a new button on the side that's direct camera access. Gives you immediate, you pull the phone out of your pocket, click a button, and you're taking a picture. Now, some people can already do that. They know how to manipulate the phone or use the action button. But having it dedicated without it using the 15's action button to me is a big plus because my action button is committed to something else. The last thing I'll say about that is this. The average lifespan of a phone is 2 to 3 years. I know that people hold on to them for 5, 6, 7, 8 years and then, complain about battery life. Well, batteries degrade. They just do. It's just physics. And by 2 years in, you'll start to see the basic signs of battery degradation. By 3 years in, it's going to be noticeable enough that your phone's not holding a charge. This means if you're holding onto a phone that's 2 or 3 years old right now, you're going to want to at least upgrade your battery, which is going to cost you $100 something. And if you don't have a 15 Pro, you might as well at least get onto that bandwagon for Apple Intelligence. The biggest part of upgrading to me, I'm always on the newest phone, and it's because I don't want to ever worry about battery life, but also because the new tools, the new functions, and the new features save me hours and hours and hours every week. And I don't want to cut off my nose to spite my face, save $100 on an old phone, and then not have it be able to be as productive.
Excellent. Time always goes so quickly. For those people that are still asking questions, feel free to put them in YouTube or wherever platform you found, and Dylan and I will go to work on them. We want to thank you, everybody, for joining us today for Stump the MacWhisperer. This is growing, which is great to see. Huge thanks to you, Dylan, the MacWhisperer himself, for walking us through the incredible new features, or at least some of them, of the new iOS 18 Notes application, and how it pairs beautifully with the iPhone 16. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to download that cheat sheet. If you haven't already, scan that QR code for that downloadable PDF packed with tips to enhance your notes experience. I want to also remind you that we have, check out our website. You can also enter the MacWhisperer.com. That QR code will take you right to the membership program, where you have access to exclusive classes, personalized one-on-one sessions with Dylan, plenty of resources to keep you ahead of your Apple products. And finally, I love this new feature with special thanks. Those of you who want to support us directly, you can now do that through the Super Thanks on YouTube. Again, scan that QR code, it'll bring you right there. And if you found value today, which I did, leave a tip, a thank you, and have us keep going with this ad-free content. Every contribution helps to continue providing you with these valuable resources for you and your other Apple enthusiasts. So that's it for today, Dylan.
I'd like to say one thing before we completely close out here, Frank.
Yeah.
If your question didn't get answered, if you've got a pressing question, if there's something you want to make sure we answer directly on one of these, we're continuing to do these. We're doing these every Thursday. We're fine-tuning the time, and we'll figure out and get it on a steady time soon. But if you have a question that didn't get answered, or you're watching this in replay and you're like, damn, I can stump him, send me an email with that question. Use the subject line, Stump the MacWhisperer, and we will highlight your question in a future live broadcast to make it really easy for you to drop those questions in and try and stump me. And if you can stump me, I'm sure we'll find some way to thank you beyond just a good job. We'll give you some sort of a thank you from one of the many things that we do here at the MacWhisperer. I'm really grateful to be able to share the knowledge that I have. I've spent over 20 years on Apple products and professionally helping guide people in productivity tips and tools and learn how to use all of their devices effectively. And I want to help you too. So let me know how I can do that. Dylan@themacwhisperer.com is the best way to get a hold of me. And I look forward to hearing from you. Back to you, Frank.
That's great. I look forward to next week. I'm going to throw out that we do reminders. I think that'd be
okay. Let's do reminders.
All right, we'll do reminders. So that's it for today, everybody. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and we'll see you.
Thank you.